Okay, so I hope audio is coming in okay and everything. So, excuse me. So, I'm going to be doing the live stream here tonight regarding issues concerning Demon Master 813, who now goes by the handle Vampiric Academia. He has now, been on YouTube for the greater part of a decade, right? And he continues to evade and deflect attention away from the issue at hand concerning his involvement within this Red Triangle gang stalking network, right? That is going around infiltrating different people's lives, influencing them through suggestive means, right? Through means of infiltration and mind control based off of um, issues such as the information going back to the original Yahweh Rules 1 channel, which surrounded end times, rapture, tranny demon clones, this whole psyop that originated with Yahweh Rules around 2015 or so when he first started making videos. Aria Dawood, Demon Master 813, who now goes by Vampiric Academia, was a reiteration and reload and amplification of that Red Triangle gang stalking disinformation campaign to pretty much radicalize or destabilize certain people that were into supernatural conspiracy theories, whether that be extraterrestrials or religious type things, right? But anyways, these psyops that the government or these other secret society groups orchestrated, right? They created these psyops, such as the demon tranny clone psyop in around 2015, 2016, through different character personas, such as Yahweh Rules, the original Yahweh Rules 1 channel, which had, I believe, maybe around 20 to 30,000 subscribers. So this was clearly a network channel, which was amplified, or rather, this channel was. It did not grow organically. It was a channel that was given a very large subscriber base, was pushed through the algorithms, and was made pretty much a famous household name within certain conspiracy theory circles, such as the Black Hebrew Israelite cult, which is actually something that goes back to one of the foundational principles of this Red Triangle disinformation network, is that they promote a false doctrine of the Bible, right? They promote a false doctrine of the life of Jesus Christ, who they refer to as Yeshua or Yahuwah, or all these different uh, variations, right? That are not based in, you know, the original foundations of, you know, followers of Christ. But anyhow, this disinformation machine, through network nodes like Yahweh Rules 1, and then eventually through nodes like Demon Master 813, Aria Dawood, right, who now goes by Vampiric Academia 3 on YouTube, um, helped to highly suggest and radicalize people that were in vulnerable states of thinking at that time, especially around 2016, 2017, 2018. Now, the Yahweh Rules 2 channel that was run by Alex Tilgman was clearly a reflection of that, a channel that was being influenced by Demon Master 813, Aria Dawood, right? Who was obviously being influenced by Yahweh Rules. Aria Dawood, when he first came online, um, clearly stated in his own words that his channel was created as inspiration, or to carry on the legacy, or basically to back up Yahweh Rules disinformation videos. Remember, Yahweh Rules 1 was a counterintelligence disinformation psyop network, or rather channel, right? Because, he he pretended to act independently, right? But behind the scenes, Ari obviously he had amplifiers like Mario, right? And Demon Master 813, who launched his channel in 2016, shortly after the original Yahweh Rules channel was created, right? So they piggybacked on top of each other, right? That's just how the Red Triangle Network operates, right? Mario plus Yahweh Rules plus Demon Master 813 equals Red Triangle. So what they did is they promoted this entire demon tranny clone psyop where they were talking about one celebrity being many different people or many different clones, many different avatars, right? That were not human, that were empty meat suits, that were synthetic robotoids, that were transgender, that were, Yahweh Rules would put out these videos such as Donald Trump is a black, uh, this is just a quote, for example, of what his video titles were at the time. Some variation of, Donald Trump is a black woman, right? And a clone, right? And he would point to these things such as, oh, the skin, the eyes, right? Synthetic, blah, blah, blah. Demon Master 813 came on YouTube in 2016 and started this pitch that, oh, well, yeah, everything Yahweh Rules says is right, and they blink too much, and they're not human, right? All these things like to start the radicalization process. Now, people that were into conspiracies, maybe supernatural subjects such as aliens and things of this nature, right? Extraterrestrial life, advanced tech that was being suppressed by the government. Go back to the 2001 Disclosure Project press conference at the National Press Club in, I believe it was May of 2001, right? That was a grounding point for some of these conspiracies, but also, of course, going all the way back to, 1940s, 1950s, things of this nature, and so on and so forth. But anyhow, these type of psyop nodes probably captured in people such as Alex or anybody else that was curious into supernatural type conspiracies, right? And Alex was at a prime age and prime vulnerability, right? Alone, depressed, looking for truth, right? And at that time, what was there to look at? If you were Alex, for example, who was being black pilled and demoralized by these network agents such as Aria Davude and Yahweh Rules and Mario, right? Because Mario infiltrated Alex's life just as he infiltrated mine in 2018. In like February, March 2018, Mario, one of these other network nodes, you know, that was involved in the Yahweh Rules, Demon Tranny Clones, Shapeshifter, Supernatural Event PSYOP. He groomed Alex and helped to radicalize Alex just as Demon Master did, right? But in different ways. Demon Master was the bad cop, Mario was the infiltrator, and he went in and he started, telling Alex pretty much what he wanted to hear, right? He was telling him, yeah, you're right. This whole world is a matrix. We're in the Truman Show. It's all demon tranny clones. There's no hope. Life is just so effed up, for instance. So this was the type of early grooming and suggestive type pushes that Mario was trying to influence people through, especially Alex, and he did the same to me. Remember, Mario was my handler for 7 years, so I would know all about the way that he psychologically abuses and manipulates people. Goes from love bomb to flip. It's psychological trauma. I can only imagine what Mario told Alex, especially when they supposedly met in person in, April, May time period, 2018, right before the event at Louis' bar where Alex tragically lost his life as a result of becoming radicalized as a result of these COINTEL style, or counterintelligence style disinformation campaigns run on the internet, and in particular this one that was run by the Yahweh Rules Demon Master 813 Mario cult. Now, what do they all have in common? They all promote this false name of Jesus Christ. They say, well, the Black Hebrew Israelite cult. Oh, and they say Jesus Christ is not his name, necessarily. Like, I believe Demon Master calls Jesus Christ by his name, but the other network nodes, they highly suggest that, well, Jesus was black and his real name is Yahuwah or Yeshua or some variation of this, right? Go back to the video I posted earlier tonight on the Kabbalistic roots of that, for instance. And yeah, I mean, you can see the other network nodes within this red triangle architecture, Toby, Night Tiger, Patricia Jerome, many of these network nodes refer to, white people as less than, essentially, and it's a very much some sort of weird radicalization type thing there, right? So anyhow, Demon Master, Yahweh Rules, Mario, they were acting as the red triangle amplifiers of this demon tranny clone psyop. And unfortunately, Alex was caught in the crosshairs of that. He was very vulnerable, very alone, obviously depressed. He was a virgin. From what Mario told me, he had never had a relationship. He was in his late 20s, I believe, and he was depressed and just beaten down and run and probably gang stalked his whole life, right? And infiltrated his whole life and psychologically traumatized and just burned out and under complete mind control. And who were the amplifiers of Alex's downfall and demise? Clearly, it was Demon Master 813. Clearly, Yahweh Rules, who, Alex's channel was inspired and named after. Of course, go back to the name of his channel, Yahweh Rules 2. It's apparent and obvious in the name of his channel at the time. So he called himself Yahweh Rules 2, right? So he was clearly being inspired by this apocalyptic end time demon tranny clone psyop that was created, originally or amplified or promoted originally by the fake Yahweh Rules channel. Remember, Yahweh Rules was a disinformation channel that was propped up with tens of thousands of subscribers. That was no accident. That was a counterintelligence amplification of his message. So it would get out there and influence people that were in a mentally vulnerable position, such as Alex. Demon Master, the actor, the amplifier, comes on YouTube in 2016 and starts shouting from the rooftop, Yahweh Rules is the best, right? Yahweh Rules 1, that is. Yeah. And then telling everybody that he was going to have Yahweh Rules back. He was going to carry on Yahweh Rules legacy. He was going to hype Yahweh Rules content up. But of course, they had a staged beef, a kayfabe, right? So in sometime around maybe like later 2016, Aria Davu, Demon Master 813, makes a video where he looks at an extremely blurry 144 pixelated blurry image of Yahweh Rules and says, "Wow, look how blurry and distorted his eyes look. I know it now. Yahweh Rules was a demon tranny clone himself." So this psyop that Aria Davude started was actually planting the seeds of complete distrust, complete mental shattery, right? Because that was the original planting of the seed that, oh, you can't trust anybody, right? And just turn on everybody, be suspicious. There's no hope of coming together or anything like this, basically, because the, the granddaddy of them all, Yahweh Rules, is a demon tranny clone shapeshifter that blinks too much. Just like, you know, pretty much everybody else that Yahweh Rules was exposing at the time, just like everybody else that Demon Master 813 was covering at the time. So this is only carried on in the decades since then with these fake channels like Aaron Haywood, who claims, anybody that is anybody, right, is playing the role of hundreds of different channels. So this is a demoralization, nihilistic black pill script. That's all it is. That's why these channels loop the same talking points for the greater part of a decade. That's why Aaron Haywood has been talking about eating KFC and how rich he is and how superior he is and how everybody is, 100 different avatars and demons, because it's not genuine content creation. It's narrative management through flooding the algorithm, flooding the YouTube feed with these suggestive videos that are constantly, smearing people's identity, blurring the lines of reality, shattering people's perceptions of reality, and beating people's heads into this idea that, oh, well, I guess all these other people are playing the role of 1,000 different demons. And of course, repetition is the most classical form of mind control. So monkey see, monkey do. If they say a lie long enough, a sucker will believe it, right? And that was the slogan of P.T. Barnum, or whoever that was, the guy that created the circus stuff in the late 1800s. Like, a sucker is born pretty much every second, right? That's the idea here. And that's the psyop, right? This is what these secret societies have been doing for hundreds of years. Infiltration from the top down. Now you have the bigger channels, Yahweh rules, 20, 30,000. But then, of course, they understand that people would eventually become suspicious of those channels. So they create little tiny channels or whatever that have, 100, 200, whatever, few hundred subscribers. And then they have Arya Davud come in. Then they have Mario come in, who has what, 100 subscribers or 10 subscribers? It doesn't really matter, because they infiltrate all levels of channels, you know, at every level of the internet. So that's why receipts and a public ledger and a timeline and intent are critical here. That is why the expedition vetting standards are as high as they are. Everybody in my life turned out to be an infiltrator, basically, trying to destroy my life and get me killed. Though that's why this is so serious right now. Arya Davud in 2016, amplifying Yahweh rules message. Mario coming in 2017, 2018, infiltrating my life, infiltrating Alex's life. They got Alex, right? Alex is no longer with us. But of course, to this day, Demon Master, right, continues to dehumanize him, smear him, call him a demon, call him the evil monster that ran into Louis's bar. No, it was your psyop, Arya, that influenced those thought processes. You and Yahweh Rules and Mario are the Red Triangle gang stalkers that were mind controlling people through narratives that were not provable or falsifiable using a scientific method. They are stories. They are elaborate stories that were created by actors like you. And because, you have a big developed thick neck or whatever, good looks or whatever it is, because that's what these networks do. They put people in positions of authority and influence that can speak very confidently with a very masculine type of voice, because that's called talk radio. Have you ever heard the expression, he has a voice made for radio? Because that's what these Masons symbolically do. They put people, because they know how easy humans are to mind control and influence. All they have to do is put this guy in there that's like, oh, well, yeah, he's tall and good looking and has a deep voice. He must be telling the truth. And he speaks so slick. He must be telling the truth, because this is what humans, unfortunately, are most easily suggested by, is somebody who can speak smoothly, but don't provide receipts, don't use logical analysis, don't use a scientific method. They tell elaborate stories, like creating this supernatural demon tranny clone psyop, these ideas which are not provable or falsifiable using a scientific method or a logical analysis. So when Aria says, "Oh, well, Alex Tilgman, and this is what he did in early 2018 when he basically infiltrated or influenced my life." I was making videos at the time documenting and analyzing the lies of the Blood Over Intent network, right? I was just saying, Quasi Luminous made this promise, this network node lied about this, and Demon Master took my whole thing that I was doing at the time, and he said, "Oh no, every Blood Over Intent member is a Goetia demon." And then he turned it into, well, Alex Tilgman, Yahweh Rules 2, is the Goetia demon Bure. So he started smearing and dehumanizing Yahweh Rules 2 for months, going from March, I believe it was, April into May 2018. And late May 2018 is when Alex, you know, uh, lost his life, unfortunately. Of course, Demon Master and Mario and Yahweh Rules, and unfortunately, too, in this case, that's what the gang stalkers want. They want to see the target uh, pretty much die, unfortunately. That is the objective. If you look at the criteria of what gang stalkers, the motivations of gang stalkers, the definitive criteria, that is their motivation, right? Effectively, they want to see the target pass away, and they hold it like up as a trophy to this day. Where Arya does not have sympathy that Alex is no longer here. What does Arya say? Arya says, well, he was evil because X, Y, and Z. He was the demon Bure. He was an avatar of. He can come up with a million different excuses. And by the way, Arya's, content has not evolved. It has not changed in the greater part of a decade. It is the same script over and over again. It's just this entity is this entity, or this avatar is an avatar of these famous people from hundreds of years ago, or this these different drawings of these SPCs or whatever. It's just the same. It's just it's recycling the same thing. Whether you would attach the label Goetia demon or SPC or whatever he's saying now, it's all just the same demoralization, black pill, doomer script of ideas going back to Yahweh Rules, the demon tranny clone psyop, because that's what he was involved in. So, I hope that there can be justice for Alex through exposure of these this timeline, right? This documented timeline of influence and infiltration and radicalization, right? That Mario is responsible for, that Demon Master obviously responsible for, and Yahweh Rules. So I'm just mapping out the architecture here for people to see. And I'm going to go ahead and link a video in the chat if people are interested in seeing exactly how the architecture of these PSYOP networks operates, because they operate, like I said, from the biggest channels to the smallest. Mario, what did he have? Very few subscribers. Yahweh Rules had tens of thousands, though they still operated within the same network, amplifying each other's disinformation campaigns and messages. So I'm going to go ahead and link the video now in the chat. Okay, so for anybody that's interested, might be tuning in for the first time or might be watching, this chat after the fact, please reference this material here. This is a forensic level logical breakdown mapping the architecture of how these psyop networks operate. This is the Red Triangle Network. This is the gang stalking network. It goes back decades, and it goes back pretty much at least 25 years in my life, but I believe it goes back to the beginning. I have the architecture mapped back to 2001, 2002. Please watch my 25 years PSYOP Origins video that's on my Matthew David Wider channel that used to be known as Nerve is a Demon Tear, right? And interestingly enough, I named it that because of Mario's influence. That's how badly he had me under mind control, and that's how badly he had shattered my perception of reality, just as Demon Master had influenced, right? But everything going back to Yahweh rules, right? And Mario, especially Mario's influence, he was my handler for 7 years. So, after the event in Oklahoma City, right, at Louis' Bar in May of 2018, where Alex tragically lost his life, in the days after that, because of Mario's influence, Mario had been telling me, well, the way Alex's body is laid out on the ground, I don't think Alex was ever a human to begin with. He was just an evil demon. And then, of course, Aria was making tons of videos saying, yeah, Alex Tilgman was the demon Buer. He's the Goetia demon Buer. It's all bogus or whatever. And they had influenced me, unfortunately, to follow in their footsteps. I was, of course, still very weak, malnourished, poisoned at the time. I was 105 pounds in May of 2017, after many years of this poisoning had been done to me, right? Remember, Mario and Arya, they were not injected. They are protected assets, part of this symbolic Masonic network, right? They're protected. Mario didn't get any injections, right? Uh, or neither did Demon Master. Look at how physically developed they are compared to an average, real poisoned individual, such as myself, who has inflammation, puffiness, and all that. I used to have a very bad lazy eye. Luckily, I was able to correct that in large part, I believe, through detoxification, right? Things that Mario and Arya, Davude, Demon Master 813, they don't promote helping oneself. They promote destruction through mind control, right? So that's what they did. That's what Mario and Demon Master pretty much were suggesting in the days after the uh the event, that the tragedy at Louis' Bar, right, in Oklahoma City in late May 2018, right? And of course, it's always important to mention that Alex Tilgman and Mario met up in Southern California the weeks leading up to the tragedy. Mario pushed me. He gave me basically Alex's phone number and encouraged me heavily to call Alex the week before the tragedy, right? And Alex was telling me on the phone the whole time, like, about all this nonsense. Like, yeah, we're living in a matrix, demon tranny clones everywhere, nihilism, pessimism, just doomer, black, like precursor to the, official black pill, uh, you know, dogma, basically. So, yeah, anyhow, I'll go ahead and, yeah, 1 second here. Yeah, anyways, I got your harassment screenshotted there, Mario. You can't refute any of these facts. You can't go live showing your face. You now conceal your voice as well. What happened when you met Alex up? Because from what you told me, he was a mental wreck at the time, and you were only making it worse. I'm sure, telling him how, yeah, that's from what I remember. You were telling him, oh, yeah, this is the Matrix. This is the demon tranny clone hell realm. Yeah. So that's what you were doing. You were influencing, manipulating me, infiltrating me. You were the one that introduced me to the Christian Alexei Kanemi disinformation machine, right? Where that information was intended to radicalize me. And yeah, I went on for years making these shapeshifter videos, and you loved every bit of it because that was a means to discredit me, right? And throttle real investigation into the architecture of the network you're involved in, the Yahweh Rules One network that was amplified through Arya Davud, Demon Master 813, that was amplified through you playing good cop, bad cop, right? Where you were always going on about, oh, Arya's evil, but I'm good. I'm the good one. I'm here for you. That was your early infiltration time period, of course, where you were telling me good things and all this. And then Arya was saying, well, no, Mario's evil. I'm good. And then you were saying, no, I'm good. Mario's evil. So it was psychological torture, psychological manipulation, and infiltration. Thankfully, I'm now clearly able to see through it and map it out and expose you. So hopefully, this live stream and future live streams and future videos I put out can be a form of justice for Alex, because you wrecked Alex's mind. You wrecked my mind. You got Alex. Alex is no longer with us. And that's exactly what you wanted from me. You wanted to come live at my house about 1 year ago. And then a few months later, after I said, pretty much it didn't happen, right? Thank God it didn't happen, right? Thank God you did not come to my house. God only knows what you were planning on doing, you monster. Okay? And when I asked you to hold Donovan and Patricia accountable to expose Donovan's fake mugshots, Patricia's fake court documents, you lashed out at me. And a few weeks later, you posted the music video or the song, right? From the band Animals Killing Humans, and the song was titled Kentucky Fried Killing. When I called you out on that, as it was obviously directed speech, you delete the video instantly. Thankfully, I have the screenshots. I have the URL from your original video you deleted, Kentucky Fried Killing. Yeah, Mario, you know exactly what your network's up to and who you're protecting. I'm exposing this, right? This is all going on a public ledger like tonight, right? You, Mario, plus Arya Davud, Demon Master 813, plus Yahweh Rules 1 equals Red Triangle Gang Stalkers, right? So I expose you now. And that's the only argument you have, is to claim I'm a liar, but you don't have any logical refutation for what I'm saying. You don't have any receipts. You don't even have any receipts from your supposed meetup from Alex in Southern California just in the weeks leading up to the incident at Louis' bar. Just imagine what type of suggestive thoughts Mario was influencing Alex with at that time. Yeah, well, none of your network nodes take me seriously. Your network nodes flood my chat and smear, dehumanize me, right? Try to discredit me, right? In the eyes of potential new viewers, just as you're doing right now in the chat. You're trying to persuade new viewers, right, that are possibly seeing this for the first time, or people that are generally on the outside looking in, or perhaps, independent thinkers, right? Middle of the road thinkers, those that haven't made up their mind yet, that don't have all the details, right, at their disposal. I'm fleshing out these details. I'm explaining the timeline with documented receipts, logic, pattern recognition. I'm the one who mapped out the architecture of your PSYOP network, the Red Triangle documentary. Please reference that. I will link that documentary again right now. So, anyways, go ahead and try to run your smear campaign in the comments and do your damage control. Everybody with some sense that's going to stick around long enough and hear the actual timeline and details will see that you were part and are part and have always been part of this disinformation network that influenced people like myself, right? You wanted to destroy my life. You wanted me dead. You said it yourself in the video effectively when you titled the when you shared the song, right? Kentucky Fried Killing. I called you out on that is obvious directed speech. You got caught red-handed. You delete the video. I have the URL saved. I screenshotted everything. That's logical analysis. That's pattern recognition. That's exposure of your BS and your obvious directed speech death threat directed at me because you wanted to come live at my house, lest we forget. You wanted to come live at my house, right? At the same time, these death threats were escalating from all these different network nodes that you work with, like Toby, right? Like all these other threats from all these other different nodes, like Earth Angel 444, the rest of them, right? So, anyhow, this video I hope can just be a form of documentation and such for those that want to see the truth come to light regarding this demon master, tranny clone, Yahweh rules, psyop network, who want to see the truth come to light and want to see justice for the victims of these people's infiltration and mind control campaigns. I survived it and now I'm exposing it. So, yeah, thank God I saw through it. And, now obviously the network isn't happy by evidence of them flooding the chat, and all their argument is to dehumanize me, call me a KUNT, call me a liar, but they don't actually have any logical arguments, right, to refute the timeline or the patterns or anything, the documentation. So, anyways, if there are any legit people tuning in right now, I just want to, summarize this live stream and say that Mario, Arya Davu, Demon Master 813, Yahweh Rules, effectively groomed and radicalized Yahweh Rules 2 and took advantage of somebody that was in an incredibly vulnerable situation, right? From what I understand, Yahweh Rules 2 was financially dependent on his parents, right? Interestingly, right? Dependency goes back to these handlers. They want the target dependent. He was vulnerable, mentally not in the best state of mind, depressed, right? He was alone. That's also something the gang stalkers want. They want the target alone and isolated, outcasted by family members too, right? Which Alex seemed to be, right? Didn't have the best relationship, if I understand correctly, with his parents. He was depressed. He was alone. He had never been in a relationship, a virgin. And that's also something a little bit about Mario. His underhanded attacks against me over the years was always that, oh, well, I have a son. Well, you never even proved that with receipts. All you have is stories. But that was another dehumanization attack on me because that I've been in the same position my whole life, basically, as well. Have nobody, just like Alex, right? And Alex, you know, had nobody, no girlfriend, right? No friends, right? And all this stuff. And you took advantage of somebody that was in an incredibly vulnerable situation. Mario, you're full of crap. You keep saying you're such a victim, but oh, you have your son and you have all these other people and women that you were meeting up with, right? That you would call me out of nowhere and say, "Ha, I have a woman. I got a girl tonight that I'm with. What do you got, Matthew?" And obviously, I'm alone in my house, right? Or whatever. Just like Alex was, right? Because you love to mock and dehumanize the target. You want to see the target drop, you know what? Like, yeah. So, anyhow, God only knows what you did to Alex in the weeks leading up to the event, right? When you were heavily influencing him when you met up with him in person in Southern California. Yeah. And then, of course, in the weeks and month or so leading up to the tragic event in Oklahoma City, Aria Davu, Demon Master 813, was continually dehumanizing Alex, accusing him of being a demon shapeshifter, the Goetia demon Buer. And I'm sure that obviously further led to Alex's demoralization and depression. Doesn't feel very good when you've been alone your whole life and outcasted and told you're shit or whatever. And then you have this fake actor named Demon Master 813 who's never been injected, has clearly ancestral features, not injected features like I have, right? You can see when I smile or whatever, my face is all puffy and swollen and inflamed. I'm still working through detoxifying the damage that's been done to me by this fake gang stalking industrial society for the last several decades, right? I have gyno. I've documented that on record. The network knew about my gyno through Mario or other infiltrators, right? So my identity was never anonymous, only anonymous, according to their illusions. But I've been under surveillance for 25 plus years by this gang stalking Red Triangle network that includes Mario and Aria Davu. So just to wrap this up, Aria Davu, Mario, Demon Master 813, Yahweh Rules, they ran a government disinformation network, right? Pretty much a psyop network that destroyed Alex's mind. And Alex is no longer with us anymore. They wanted to do the same to me. They want to do the same to any real targets out there. They want the targets. The gang stalkers want the targeted individuals dead. They are explicitly threatening to kill me all the time now. They are threatening to come kick down my door and murder me, okay? And Mario, he's part of that network, right? So I'm just going to wrap up this live stream now, unless anybody is potentially watching that is real, right? That has any legitimate questions concerning these matters that were brought up in this stream regarding Alex Tilgman, Yahweh Rules 2, Demon Master 813, and everything in between. So please feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you have any concerns or legit questions. But otherwise, I'm going to sign off here in a few minutes or so, or very soon, if there are no questions, right? So, yeah. Go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and screenshot the rest of your harassment too, Mario. Just to get it all time stamped there too. So yeah. Anyhow, there don't seem to be any questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. And I hope anybody that happens to be real that's watching right now, I hope you have a good evening. And I hope to do another live stream here soon. And thank you for watching, obviously.